Good evening, everyone, or wherever you're watching this in the future. Congratulations, you've invented time travel. Hello to Mr. Full GC.
Ollie.
Hey, basically it's Sunday night. Point changes are happening. I couldn't be bothered to play things because points changes. So what I thought is I decided that we'd go and have a chat about points, and Phil was nice enough to humour me. And because of that, I've got a lovely fire spray. He probably isn't watching the stream, but I've got a beautiful fire
Loading the
spray.
stream up now. I'm loading the stream up now just
Ah,
so
it's super
you
pretty.
press it.
I don't know who drew this, which is a shame because I'd love to get credit to the author. Maybe I'll find it later, but it was on another site that was just stealing art. So, oh well. But anyway, yeah. So points changes are happening. I still have a webcam, and life is new. So I don't know, Phil. What would you be the most excited about if points changes happen tomorrow? You found out there was one ship that was going down in points. Let's not worry about game balance. Just what do you think would be the most exciting ship that would get cheaper for you?
Cut Guri down to 30 points. That would be great. I don't think that will happen.
Okay,
Categorically, that's no. No.
what about like a reasonable point change? Like everyone knows you love Guri, so what about a reasonable points change?
Be dropping points, maybe?
Say again?
I mean, Guri's already gone up a couple of points, so Guri's not coming down.
No.
I'm just thinking about the ships I love. And I think the Fangs are possibly one of the best costed ships in the game.
Thanks, pretty good.
Wouldn't mind seeing Poe drop. I think Poe's two agility is that, like, the standard Poe of heroic and R4 at 71 points.
Yeah, I think I'd like to see some of the named T70s go down a bit. We're not talking because I think Elo in the end they're well known to be good. But maybe like seeing Jess go back. I think Jess is I feel like there's a few ships in this edition that are struggling from being good in 1.0, so therefore they got hit with a massive nerf bat. Jess is one of those. I'd love to see her go down a little bit. Hey guys, we have some stuff. Oh, Phil, you I'm gonna enlist your help on this one. I don't know whether you saw the post on the Fly Better page. I think it was yesterday about designing your own ship. Um,
I did submit my response.
yeah, I haven't read yours yet, and I don't know whether you've read mine. So I think we should talk each other through our own ships at some point as well. Um,
All right.
there we go. So Mark Hughes wants Geary back in hyperspace. That's something that we should also probably talk about at some point. Is like, what ships would you like to see in
Yeah,
hyperspace or not?
it'd be interesting to see what changes over. I kind of feel bad. So I think he has embraced hyperspace as a format now.
Yeah, we're getting there.
I I think I think people have gone hyperspace is the way forward. Like, a limited format is great.
Yeah.
I think people have acknowledged that it's predominantly stuff that's been re-released or released.
Hmm.
Makes sense. Um, I just think, like, it's bad for season, like the first half of this year, because space was meant to be a thing, and we've had no events,
Yeah, it's
activity, and you kind of go, well, that whole season of hyperspace didn't really happen, did it?
it's such a shame, right?
To
It's such a shame because we
be like, if you think about the calendar, we're meant to be in like peak regional and national season. You and I
yeah.
are meant to be traveling across all around Europe and across the country, taking meals together, and you know,
At,
eating in French restaurants or Italian pizzerias and stuff
at
like that.
at this point, what have we missed out on so far? We would have done at least two system opens. Germans would have happened by now, probably the Polish as well. Um, we've missed UK nationals. That's really sad. Um,
UK Nats is always a couple of months before everything else, so
yeah,
because of Games X date.
yeah. So we've
No
officially missed
UK
that.
Nats.
I think coming up, the French one is coming up, or would have been coming up, and I was really excited for wherever the XTC was going to be this year. It was going to be good.
Yeah.
So let's just going back to the chat, answering a couple of questions. Anakin Skywalker, something to go down in the Ether Sprite. What do you reckon? Yay or nay?
Right. Anakin is very open to abuse in the Ether Sprite.
He's good.
Not Delta 7 isn't in hyperspace. I think maybe. The problem is Delta 7 Anakin is just so strong. I can't see them including that. Maybe Anakin and a Y-wing can go down because let's face it, no one's used him.
So there's been a discussion on Slack going on about Anakin or Anakin in the Y-wing. The Dutch system open. It would have been great to go see the Dutch. But yeah, I think the Anakin in the Y-wing is like, he's good, but he's not worth his points. He's still too expensive. But then again, it's so hard to
look at the chassis and go, it's still just a one. It's just a Y-wing. It's got a 2-dice gun, and then he's 60 points at the moment or something.
I think the problem is that, like, you've got to put a torpedo on him, right? You've got to put torpedoes. So you put proton torpedoes on him, he goes up to basically 80, with all his toys. But once he's got all of his toys,
you want the R4 astromech on there to make the dial usable.
And then he's 8 hull and he's got 1 agility.
And yes, look, he can cancel the first crit he takes a turn and turn it into a hit.
Yeah.
But he's 1 agility.
Yep.
But outmaneuver. He's got no agility.
Yeah, but you just love Guri.
I just love outmaneuver. I think outmaneuver is a card that could be looked at for points. If we're talking about cards and points, outmaneuver versus Duke.
Yep.
Why is Duke more expensive than outmaneuver?
Because Phantoms. You know why. You know why.
I don't make Phantoms Duke down because at the moment, like, A-wings can't use it. Like, no one can use Duke because Phantoms.
Yeah, but I think
the problem isn't Duke. The problem is Phantoms.
So if we're talking points changes here, and really good to see some of you guys in the chat. Sorry, we're kind of getting into good discussion, so I will come back to some of your questions if we get there. But yeah, I mean, in terms of these points, right? How about scaled points? Because we've seen it scaled in terms of initiative, in terms of all these couple of other bits, but we haven't really seen it scaled in terms of number of upgrades. And I think stuff like heroic struts on droids, these are things that would really, really benefit from going up in points as you put more of them in the list. Like the spam ability of an upgrade makes it really, really good. So I think I'd like to see a system where, like, heroic and Duke get more expensive.
I think that is that any list builder you create is going to have to factor that in.
Yeah.
And which was your first heroic? Because if you've got 5 A-wings all with heroic, killed my ZZ. There's a ship who could probably go up.
Oh, yeah, ZZ needs to be hit with a banhammer.
You killed my ZZ, but my ZZ's heroic is worth 1 point. My 5 heroic is the one on that wing over there, and that gets even worse with droids because I've got my 7 droids. The first one costs 1 point. They cost 2 points. Well, that droid's now worth 32 points. But how do you prove that in your list?
That's a good point. I think what would happen is that because you're using the squad builder, right? And I think this is the advantage of now the fact the squad builder is a thing and we're not building with cardboard anymore and the points on the cards. Because what you do is when you put the extra upgrade in the list, they all get more expensive. You don't just make the second one more expensive, you make both of them more expensive. So each ship is still the same amount of points, but now all of the upgrades are more expensive.
If you've got 2 of them, they both cost 2 points, but then you're getting exponential growth.
Yeah, exactly.
By the time you've got 3 heroic, that's 9 points on a row.
Yes. So at some point, at some point you say, right, if you got up to 3 of them, then they're only 2 points each, etc., etc. Or like, I feel like you need to balance it somehow. And again, maybe 200 points is too few for that.
In FFG have talked about like wanting to update the app and improve the official app, and I think until that's got the technology to do what they want it to do,
yeah, I agree with that.
Really an option they can consider, but I like the idea.
I agree with that.
In terms of upgrades and scaling, though, I'm going to throw one at you because I've won a small event with it once upon a time. Sensors.
So again,
sensors. really problematic upgrade.
Yeah, I mean we're seeing in the chat. The chat is definitely calling out passive sensors a couple of times. It's also getting into. I'm going to call out Fly Mighty here. You're not allowed to be abusive. Be nice in my chat, okay? I know you've got strong views. I enjoyed watching your views on the Hexard thing, but be nice to people. Also, Lizam, you're entirely wrong about Boba being nice. Fly Mighty is correct. He is broken. Sorry. Anyway, but yeah, like passive sensors. God, that is. It's so hard to. It's so hard to cost. Hopefully, my audio is a bit better for you guys now. I've quietened down Phil a little bit. Basically, I need a. My mic is good, but it's just quiet.
It's really good at initiative 1 and 2.
Yeah.
Kind of good at initiative 3 and 4. Really good at initiative 5 and 6. Like, admittedly, the only ship that you take on that's I6 is Vader, right?
Yeah. I mean,
because of the daisy chain actions, because of the Force.
Yeah, I'm being a little bit facetious there, Flying Mighty, but basically just about the argument about Boba, it was going to be going off in a tangent. Right.
Talk about Boba though, because I think that is one that we need.
Yeah, we'll deal with Boba. I think with passives though, because as you say, like Vader, like chat, definitely fine. Wouter, you don't get to say anything about Sloan either. But yeah, in terms of passives, it's amazing on Vader. They needed to word the card properly so that Vader couldn't chain it off it. But I think
if it was like advanced sensors where you may perform one action after you trigger this.
I think the problem that I have with it is, I think it's not being costed correctly. If you're thinking about costing it in terms of agility or initiative, I think this is something that needs to be costed in terms of force points, because it, like, everyone knows that the perfect shot with the focus and target lock, right? So when you have force already, looking at you, Fifth Brother, looking at you, Vader, looking at you, Whisper, with the Fifth Brother crew, yeah,
as well, she loves it.
Everything with a force, like, you need to cost it by how many force points you have, and again, you've got the app. And you can do that, right? If this ship has a force point, make this card 5 points more expensive.
On my game that I played. Oh, brain's gone blank.
Oh.
I'm blank.
You're fuzzing a bit, but you know.
It's 4 Inquisitors.
4 Inquisitors. Ew.
What did I play? Why is his name on?
What Sorry, you keep on fuzzing a little bit. What were you saying about Inquisitors?
So the game I played with the 4 Inquisitors, where I had 3 lots of passive sensors on it.
You've got Grand Inquisitor, you've got Fifth Brother, and you've got Seventh Sister.
So all with passives, they just move enough force realistically to avoid taking any damage.
Yeah, I mean it's really, really good.
An errata on passives. They don't like changing the words of the cards.
Yeah, I agree with that. I mean, let's throw. I'm curious. Just while we're having a conversation, because I think we need to address the Boba monster, right? Let's address the Boba monster. But while we're doing that, throwing out a question to the chat: if the chat could change one ship, and I think Corrin has popped up as well. I think E-wings are definitely something that we should look at. But if you guys could change one thing, what would you change, chat? Chuck that in and see what happens.
Yeah, one ship.
Yeah.
And one pilot and one upgrade.
Yeah, one pilot, one upgrade. I think that'd be cool. So chuck in some ideas. I can scroll back through and we'll see what we get, and we can talk about some of those. But come on then, Phil. He's one of your favourite ships. What do you think about Boba?
Boba is enjoying a perfect storm at the moment. So the issue with Boba is that things that have been kind of taken out of hyperspace. We know this. There's lots of ships out there that do.
Yeah,
the problem.
Can you maybe move your mic a bit close to your mouth or something? I think you've got.
Let me see and sort that out.
Yeah. Good. Well, while Phil's sorting out, while Phil is sorting out his mic, we'll just have a look at some of these. Kraken. Ooh, Aaron Kraken ability changed to a white action. That's kind of fun. Not what to do with points though. Justice for Howrunner. I think that's fair. It'd be really cool to see Howrunner go down a bit in points. They just like Drea, they hit Howrunner with a banhammer. Ooh, Duke has to spend the evade to use it. Say again, Phil?
Does it sound better now?
Yeah,
better?
That's a lot better. You're not cutting out.
Howrunner. I agree Howrunner not being in hyperspace because of the passive mods on there, but I think it's really sad that you can't run the 6-tie swarm effectively in extended now.
Justice for Howrunner.
I think Hal was deserving. I think all the passive reroll ships, so Sinker, Drea, Hal, understand why they're not in hyperspace because it's a blanket sort of thing that ships don't give other ships rerolls. But that's where, like we were talking about Boba.
Yeah.
Was in the perfect storm.
Yeah, he really is.
If you look at hyperspace, it's geared towards more ships.
Yeah.
Generic pilots, lots of ships. We're taking away lots of the big sixes that threaten him, like Wedge. And so Boba loves that.
He really does.
Slave one down to 1 point. That you can literally just set Boba's dial to a 3 bank and then I'll just do that instead. It's fine. So you've got a ship he wants multiple enemies on the board.
Yeah.
Wants things to be moving before him, and he's the only ship really with inbuilt rerolls in the game, and he's got the best rerolls because he can have multiples of them. Most ships only have 1 reroll available. Boba has infinite, theoretically.
Yeah.
So he's got this perfect storm of that, and then you throw in Maul on the crew. The staple on that is now. And it's just like, cool. Even if I do, I still got I can reuse. The reason they dropped Slave One originally, I think, is because Marauder was so good.
It was.
Marauder was amazing. The reroll out the back, the ability to take handgunner, having a Boba with a target lock and a focus and reroll out the back anyway.
Efficiency
was abuse. It was abusive.
But do you remember the original text on Slave 1, the fact that it gave you a stress token? I think that is actually a better one to bring back to make it more viable.
The one I don't get is because essentially Slave 1 is Navigator but a title. No stress.
Yes. Yeah. Navigator gives you stress, Slave 1 doesn't anymore. It did. I mean, no one took it when it gave you a stress. It was 3 points and no one took it.
And also, it was, if you go back to 1.0, that was Imperial Boba's ability.
Yeah, it was. And he was still bad.
And he was still bad. I tried. I really tried. Scum Boba and Kath were just better.
Yeah, they were.
But yeah, like, the issue with Boba. So, for a start, Slave 1 should, I think, make sense to be a card that scales with initiative. Because it, on an fire spray, let's face it, it's pretty useless.
Yeah, I mean that's the thing.
And on the I4s, well, if you're taking Kath, you're probably not playing X-Wing properly. Emin wants Andrasta because he wants the extra bomb slot. He wants the reload. The only ship that Slave 1 is viable on is Boba or Koshka. And like Koshka's an I3, so what a waste of points that is.
Yep, it's the I5. It's the perfect storm, as you say.
I genuinely think looking at Navigator being 7 points.
Yeah.
Very good argument for Slave 1 being because it doesn't give you the stress.
For
so
sure.
If Slave 1 goes up to, a better Navigator that doesn't get the crew slot. Yeah.
Yeah.
So I think if Slave 1 is 8 points, maybe even 9 points, still good.
Yeah, I mean I think it's Slave 1. I mean, let's have a look at, because you kind of have upgrades that you look at from a competitive standpoint, and I think we both look at things from a very competitive standpoint. it's not the ability to get yourself out of trouble. It's the ability to make your opponent have to cover every option, and therefore they can't trap Boba as effectively as they normally would, because they have to actually sit back.
Well, essentially, to block Boba, you have to commit two blockers. You have to get a left blocker and a right blocker, at which point Boba just goes full forward straight over the top of you and doesn't care. Another thing with the fire spray that I personally would like to change, I have a long established love affair with this ship.
Yes.
I would like the fire spray to have an A-wing style arc.
Yes. So there's...
I would
Yeah.
have it as a white linked action. Just rotate, boost, rotate.
Boost. I think boost into rotate would be fine. I don't think we should have focus into rotate.
I think any of them should have something.
It
just means that the Boba player has to commit to going, are you shooting out the front or are you shooting out the back?
Importantly as well, if you block him, then he can't rotate.
Yeah. Which is what I think, because if you look at the guns on the fire spray, look at the picture there, they swivel backwards and forwards.
But not both at the same time.
Both at the same time.
Yeah. No, I agree with that.
That would be a great fix on Boba, and if you did that to him, you could leave him exactly the same as he is now, because there's counterplay to him. And at the moment, it generally takes 2 ships to counterplay Boba, which is fine if you've got 7 ships that are all droids.
Yeah.
But
now
then Boba's just going to delete a droid a turn. Which goes 2 rerolls.
Going away from the fire spray a little bit, because I know we would both love to talk about the fire spray all day. Let's do a little bit of quick fire here, because the chat's been posting some stuff. So let's go through a little bit of their stuff, and sort of let's do an opinion each. So just a quick sort of like, what do we think about this? Good or bad? So I'm going to take this one because it kind of screams out for me. One from Farn. Shout out to Farn. We got all the Dutch in here apparently. Good to see you guys. Vader without passive sensors is still priced too aggressively. So with or without, basically Vader's too cheap. Completely agree. Vader needs to be more expensive. Also think that for the same reason as Boba is going to be good for a while, FFG wants people to play him. So that's that one. What do you reckon then, Phil, about the Scum Falcon? Change the Scum Falcon to give it a 3rd dice, or give it some other upgrades?
I don't think you can change the print stuff on cards. I think what they can do is they can look at what upgrades are available to the Falcon.
Yeah. So what would you give the Scum Falcon if you wanted to make it a bit more interesting? What kind of upgrade?
I think the problem that the Scum Falcon has, which other Falcons don't have, is action economy. It doesn't have the ability to do multiple things at the same time. What I would like to see with the Scum Falcon, actually, this is like wish list time. This isn't something I think they will do.
All right.
Is that obviously when you've got the docked ship, you've got the docked what's the one called, the Outrim Pioneer.
Yeah.
The one that can land on rocks.
Yeah.
Got that docked. Has a crew. That crew does nothing. However, you give the crew on that ship, as long as that ship is connected to the Falcon, that crew member counts as part of the Falcon crew.
Ooh, I like that. Yeah.
Can then take, so if you've got, that ship can coordinate, right?
Yeah.
If you and it's a red coordinate. If you've got a communications officer,
yeah, that
becomes a white coordinate. I would love to go that you get an action if it's docked. The escape pod gets an action.
Yeah.
The 2 ships are moving together. You can theoretically or a focus with one ship and a target lock with the other.
I think that. Yeah, because I mean they've already got the linked abilities, but why not allow that ship to have an action? It's essentially a coordinate, but only for the Falcon. Yeah, that could be fun. And then if you put a tactical officer on it, then that ship can be coordinating every turn. Yeah, I like it.
Or you just say that you as long as you've got the ship docked, escape pod can perform a second action.
Yeah. Right, I'm going to deal with
escape pod.
I'm going to deal with a couple here because they're all from Phil, and surprisingly, sorry, other Phil. Surprisingly, they're all dealing with the Shadowcaster. So hi, Phil.
Oh my god, I'm so surprised.
First of all, put Ketsu into hyperspace. Sure, I actually like that. I think Ketsu would be quite fun in hyperspace. Banshee title for the Lancer. You're going to have to wait for not points on that one, so I'm going to deal with all those. And also, I'm going to deal with this one as well. Delta 7B for the Defender being unique. I like the fact that Delta 7B is part of the Defender. I think it's now just baked in, and that's fine. I think are we talking Delta 7B is in terms of double tapping cannons, Casper? I don't know. Maybe get back to me on that one. But I think
Delta 7B is the Ether Sprite.
Oh, sorry. Sorry, I'm still at 1.0.
Only have one on Anakin, basically.
Yeah, Delta 7B being unique.
I only have OB.
I actually quite like that. I quite like that. So yeah, I'm behind him on that one. What about this one then? This is from Dylan Jones after. Hey Nick, by the way, I know you shouted out and said hi. So from Dylan, good to see you. And a bit of a nonsense suggestion, but I don't know what you think about the Outrider itself. Hey, I'm just here to say the Outrider title should come down, and the 2400 should get a second crew slot. What do you think about any of that?
I don't think you can allow a second crew slot.
Correct.
Simply because the Falcon becomes, at the moment, the Outrider on the 2400 is manageable. The ship, I think Dash needs to come down. I think Libra needs to come down. I think the lack of use we're seeing of that ship needs to come down. The fact that it's so easy to deal with now, when playing against it, it's very easy to block. It's very easy to manipulate. It's very easy to get into range one.
Yeah.
But if you put a second crew slot in there, it opens up. I think is wildly abusive.
Yeah. I mean, what do you think of? Because Wouter is saying, why not put the crew slot back on Lebo? Do you think the C3PO double calculate and then get it back every time is overpowered?
That's something that as soon as it was pointed out at release of basically everyone, hey, you can do this, and FFG went, oh no, we don't want you to do that. That sounds outrageous.
Yep.
I don't think they can do that. I do think have an illicit slot. It should have an illicit slot.
Yeah.
Like Dash was like a smuggler mercenary type dude, right?
Yeah.
Can illicit slot on there makes perfect sense. Even like looking at a second mod slot on it. I don't think you can give a crew because what a crew allows.
Yeah, crew
but if
is
you give it a
good.
second mod slot, I think a second mod slot might work.
Yeah, I'm curious to see because with the illicits, they took the illicit off the Falcon because they realised it was a broken combination. I don't think you take the illicit off because it gives it feeling. I think you just increase the points of those things that are causing problems. Again, if the illicit is on a ship with a crew slot, looking at you, what was it? Inertial dampeners. There we go. If it's they nuked the wrong thing. They didn't need to nuke the initiative of it. What they needed to do is they needed to nuke it on a ship with a crew slot that could allow a regen. Anyway, right. Let's move on from Dash. I want to keep these fairly quick fire. Otherwise, I'm going to run out of questions. I'm going to not be able to get through all the questions. Ooh, here's a fun one. Let's bring up our favourite topic, Nant-ex. So there's been a couple of Nant-ex questions. First one said that the general Nant-ex should come down, but ensnare should go up because we're not seeing the Nant-ex being used without ensnare. I think that's fair. What do you reckon?
Yeah, I think. I love the way it got released with ensnare, and then pretty after Worlds, they realised, whoa, this is a problem.
Kill it.
Tell you what, we're going to give you ensnare and extended.
Oh my God.
And it's in hyperspace. What we're really hoping is that in the next lot of hyperspace, ensnare in hyperspace and the Nant-ex not. So,
I think.
So you always have one or the other.
I think a genuine problem. I'm going to get on the Nant-ex soapbox again. I think a genuine problem with what happened with Worlds is that FFG didn't get scared about the Nant-ex enough, because the general quality of player at Worlds had put enough practice time into it to at least look at countering the Nant-ex. Suddenly, when you released it into the wild in a system open, you saw just how powerful it was, because not everyone had the time and effort to practice against this broken ship. Which is why you saw a lot of the American Opens being swept by that really, really nasty... I think it was... I don't think Heaver came up with it, but he was one of the big ones flying it. It was like the Chertek and a full swarm nonsense.
So quickly looking at Nick's point there, Nant-ex should only be able to tractor themselves. When I've been mentioned a few times about tractor mechanics, I fundamentally think the tractor mechanics should be an either or. You leave the tractor token on there, and it reduces agility, or you spend the tractor token to roll a ship.
Yeah, and that's something someone else has suggested here. I like the idea of spending it to roll the ship, but I think again that's with the tractor mechanics. They decided to put the stress on instead. I think it would have been a lot better if you spent the token to move the ship.
I'm one thing I'm scared about is that they're going to reduce quad jumpers.
Oh no.
They're going to say, well, tractor is not as good as it used to be, right?
Yeah.
To make quad jumpers cheaper because they're not such a problem anymore. Go back to the days of, what was it, 6 quad jumpers and a Z95 or 6 quad jumpers and anything.
Yeah.
Like that's just shouldn't be a thing.
Yeah, I agree with that. I think the tractor beams in itself is a problem. I think the mechanic of, and I've had to think about this a few times, and it's something that used to bug me even when I went back to when I was playtesting, is that you want the game to be fun, and taking away your ability to do things is not very fun. It's one of the reasons why people used to complain about Jesper playing his control bots, because you don't get to play the game, you don't have options. So if you're having the jump master with Intel Agent,
Jay had to orchestrate the shot.
Yes.
To have the shot, he had to roll dice for it.
Oh no, we're not saying I'm not saying that the inherent skill in that list, like a lot of people tried to use it, but Simeon and Jesper were very good at it. But even like you still felt like you had a chance with the control bots.
I think my problem with Tractor is that it firstly it reduces your agility. Secondly, it ends you on a rock, so you've got 50-50 chance of taking a damage. You can't shoot. Fourthly, if you want to do anything about it, you've got to take a stress.
Yeah.
Like a lot of ships run stressed in 2.0. So now double stress, which means no action for 2 turns.
Yeah, so they're just not going to take it.
And it's that a Quipper at initiative 1 can just roll up to you attracted.
Yep.
It doesn't have to roll. At least with Jay's ions, he had to roll dice, and there was a chance that you evade it.
And there is always, even with the 1 agility ship, there's always that chance.
He whiffs or you evade. And I think for me, that's the fun difference with Tractor, is that the things that are a problem with Tractor Beam, I don't have a problem with Ketsu as a Tractor Beam, not really a problem, Mr. Pond.
Yep.
Because it's only in her firing arc, and it triggers at the start of engagement.
Yeah.
You can avoid being there.
Yep.
I don't have a problem with the Shadowcaster title Tractor. You have to hit.
Yeah. I mean...
And those are fine. But I think the Jumper and the Nant-ex that just go, have it.
On the subject, I'm going to make a bit of a jump here. So no one has specifically asked this question yet, but it's one of the things on my mind as something that is broken, but I'm not sure about FFG understanding how broken it is. I'm going to shout out Actor on this. Is those 6 with the tractor beams and the ion cannons. How ridiculously efficient is that ship? Like, ugh.
Part of me goes, it was so ignored for years.
I know. So this is the thing. It was such a terrible ship for so many years. Like, let it have its time in the sun, but also it needs to have its time in the sun without being literally the best thing in the game, apart from droids.
I think the problem is the spam. Is spam. The named pilots, and it's similar to the quad jumper in that the named pilots don't really see much table time. The generic being so cheap is the thing.
Yep.
You know,
It's and that's it's the 20, what is it? Because they're just ridiculous. There's like it's 31 points with a tractor beam. Like what is that? What is that?
I just
Yeah,
mean,
that's a problem. That's a
but
problem.
then this is again what we're talking about. What I mentioned earlier with hyperspace is that hyperspace is the home of multiple ship lists.
Yep, it is.
Like if you're not running 4 or more ships in hyperspace, Fen
It
and
is.
Boba and Koshka and
It is
stuff, then
difficult.
generally,
It is difficult to do aces in hyperspace. It really is. There just isn't
which
the
I
efficiency.
find really sad.
Yeah, I mean, there is an argument that says it is time for a bit more of a swarmy meta, because of the fact that we have had it for so long in terms of the aces. But also, the thing that I dislike in hyperspace right now is because the things that we're seeing that are efficient are green dice heavy list, very green dice heavy list. Then you're constantly rolling the dice, and hyperspace to me feels a lot more variable than extended does. And as someone who has come from 1.0, and I'm aware that there is my bias in this, but as someone that's come from 1.0, and I really liked the ability to almost play chess with your opponent. Like, we know more or less what the dice are going to be, so let's actually...
Nim is going to hit you 4 times with this harpoon.
Yeah, like, if you're here, you're going to take this amount of damage because this is how the dice work. Like, there is variance in that, but mostly it's going to be this. Right, this is a fun one. I think you'll enjoy this one. And I think we should spend a little bit of time discussing this one, because this is something that hasn't really changed for about a year now. Is the RZ2. So Casper, hello Casper from Australia. I know where you live, haha. But he has said that we should remove the tech slot from the RZ2 A-Wing. What do you think?
I just think you make optics more.
I like you, Phil. I mean, but yeah.
I think the tech slot is fine. I think the problem is that you can have 5 lots of guaranteeing 2 hits for 20 points.
At different initiatives as well.
That is, for me, that's the issue. For those who read this week's blog, you'll see that I actually say I highlight optics as a card that I think is possibly undercointed.
It's ridiculous, but it's only that good on 2 dice ships.
Oh, it's still good on Kylo. It's still good on Silencer. It's still good. Anything that turns a blank to a hit for the focus is
I'd like to see it at 5 points. I think I'd like to see that upgrade 5 points, because adding 5 points to that A-Wing list, basically you have to put 2 of them as blue squadrons, so you're only allowed 1 ace. And I think so. This is the thing: is I'm probably going to get complained at by Bartosz here, but he is a phenomenal pilot with them, and he's managed to play that list. Yeah, and so this is the thing. Rogue Historian just put there, feels like it's a list that only seems good and in the hands of a good player. Yes, correct, but also if you have that one good player, sorry Bartosz, but like obviously he's not the only one that plays A-Wings, but if you have that one good player and they just are winning everything because that list is unbeatable in the hands of that one player, well, do you have to address it? And this is something that I'm curious about, the points changes. Do you change something? And I think this is the thing with the 6. Actor Khan has been sweeping events worldwide with those 6/6. He's come top 4 in every single Space Jam. Okay, he didn't win, but that is ridiculous. The consistency using these 3 dice variable ships, like, it doesn't matter that he hasn't won one, because he came top 4 in every single one, and I view that as so much better than just winning one of them and disappearing.
Actually, with the 3 dice ships, lower initiative is actually a bonus, because you have perfect information on your token spend. Like I spent my thing defending, or I spend my thing attacking, but I've got perfect information about that token, which you don't get. Like, if Suntir spends his focus, he's risking incoming shots coming back. But the Sith goes, well, I know I can spend it because I know I'm not going to get shot by anything else.
Yeah, absolutely. And just addressing a couple of things in the chat as well. Like, yes, absolutely, it was an actor who invented the list. Dave Sutcliffe has been talking about it for ages on Slack. Nicholas Nielsen, good shout out to him. He's been stomping things with Scum Swarms for a little while. I mean, he was at Worlds with he made Worlds with Tyranny, as well as the what's the hawk that makes you initiative 0?
Lux.
Torquil, Tyranny, Torquil, Seavor, and 2 Cracks. But anyway, going back to stuff. Yeah, I think back to our original point. I think you're right that the optics is a problem, but I don't think the tech slot is an issue on the A-wings. It's optics itself.
In response to the comment about A-wings being really good players' hands, it's a very forgiving list. It's very easy to pick up and play. I think the key thing in 2.0, like you said with 1.0, 1.0 you knew what you were going to do with hits because you go, I've got a lock and I've got expertise, I do this.
Yeah.
And that's, I don't think it was meant to have a degree of consistency that we see in things like Naman in 1.0. But the A-wings offer that. I would rather go, I'm going to roll 40 sets of dice and guarantee that 35 of them are 2 hits this game.
Yeah, absolutely.
Well,
But this is the question.
Issue.
This is the question because actually what we're seeing is that people are starting to win more with lists that don't do that anymore. And this is the thing with the Focho, the 6, Fangs, Droids, like pushing yourself into that variance, but having enough dice rolls to get the spike is actually winning games.
It's 40k mentality. He who rolls the most dice wins. Like every time I've looked at Lady Luck on any game that I've played in the last few, it's every single time the person who rolls the most red dice is the person who has won the game.
Yeah, because reds are better than greens.
And so it's about maximizing. If you've got to do more damage because token, and then damage gets pushed through.
Yeah, for sure. Right.
It just takes one wild spike and the game changes dramatically.
Let's scroll down a little bit. So Light's a bit more Forlom. I think he's there in the Scum faction. He's not useless. I think he's actually in a pretty good point slot. If you make him any cheaper, he becomes obnoxious. E-wings. We've had a couple on E-wings. What would you do with E-wings, Phil?
It would make them cheaper. I think that just like the Fearless Fang, or Fearless Fangs on the list.
Yeah.
Like to have, I don't know what talent you put on them, like let's say Predator and have four models with Predator. That would feel not overpowered as a list.
Yeah, I think the thing is with the E-wing though is I've always had the problem with that linked action, the fact that it's linked into a target lock. So
bad.
There's been a couple of people saying give it a tech slot. There's been a couple of people saying allow Corrin to have a force point. I don't know.
Force point is nice and fluffy.
Okay, so just having a look at the E-wing here. Let's go and let's find the E-wing. Where is it? There it is. So
Corrin's what, 66?
I'm just gonna compare it to something. What in the Rebel faction does have a tech slot? U-wing? Nope. That's Sensor.
No rebels have a tech.
No rebels have a tech. Let's go to Resistance then and have a look at the tech slot. Just thinking what...
E-70s have a tech slot, A-wings have a tech slot.
So what would be a good tech on the E-wing? I don't think there is one. Optics is okay, but it's got a target lock anyway. Pattern Analyzer, meh. It wants action efficiency. It doesn't want to be K-turning. But yeah, I agree with you. I think just make it cheaper, because if you have a look at the standard E-wing, it's 50 points for a standard E-wing. If you could have a Rogue Squadron escort with that EPT,
Rogue Squadron with Predator for 50 points, and you can have 4 of them. I think that feels very comparable to the Fangs. Because
I mean the basic E-wing is only initiative 2, and yet the Rogue Squadron is 3 points more expensive. I mean that's more or less fair. Yeah, it's interesting. It's interesting. A title that gives another linked action. Again, with the titles, I think just bake it into the ship. I think they've made their bed with the E-Wing and making it, and I like it. Like the E-Wing as a ship is a really interesting concept to me. Target lock at long range and then come in. We've seen it be super successful with the Inquisitors.
Clearly, for me, the E-Wing is clearly, it's designed to be an alpha strike ship.
Yes.
You move forward, you focus.
Yep.
Simple, done. The problem I have with that is I don't think that makes for a fun game of X-Wing.
Yeah, I'd agree with that. And I think, I don't know, with R4, so like if you're going to build out the E-Wing to be effective, right?
R4.
You give it an R4, you sprinkle a combination of... You can
Fire
fit
control
3
system on
of...
there because it complements it really well.
Fire control's good. I probably would give them FCS. Yeah, I mean you can fit 3 of them with FCS, R4. Sorry, it's the R3s. So 2 of them can have. Yeah, it's close. I mean, like you've got plasmas on all of them. You've got fire controls. You got R4s. Like there's a lot of threat there. But you know, it's an interesting ship. It's an interesting ship.
It's one of, if not my favourite rebel ship.
But the problem that I then have, right, is that you look at this ship, you look at the ship that is built out like relatively. Let's make it the good version. Let's give it proton torpedoes because everyone knows that protons are great. That ship is 71 points. That is Fen Rao, and it's Initiative 4. Is it
Proton torp?
It is a double modded proton.
And you can fit 3 of them in, or fit 2 of them in with wedge.
Yeah, I think
2 of them with wedge is a fairly commonplace thing these days.
Two of them with wedge is interesting. Like that's a fun little list.
But it's still just an opening engagement. Does my joust level your list?
Yeah.
Oh, it does. Cool. Let's call it there then.
Yep. What is interesting is if they made multi-crow 1 point cheaper, you could have 2 proton torpedo E-Wings and Jan. Yeah. That'd be interesting.
Does Jan work on secondary?
No, but you have the initial alpha at range 3, and then you just go, cool, I've got a 5 dice range 1 E-Wing. Good luck with that.
I think that's like, this is one thing I don't get, is like a lot of B-Wings on the table.
Also,
mathematically, an E-Wing is more durable than a B-Wing.
Oh yeah, by a long way. But it's also more variable. But
yeah,
if
but
you
it's
take
got the 3
averages,
green dice and the 3 red dice. It's got, so you're getting 2 dice for 2 less health, which means that the E-Wing, as long as it doesn't blank out,
yeah,
less damage than a B-Wing.
Yeah, and this is the thing. So let's carry on. Let's carry on scrolling. I like the E-Wing. The E-Wing. I think you're absolutely right though. The E-Wing is solved by making it cheaper.
Couple of points. Doesn't be a lot. Even just drop it 2 points so you can take a free R4 on it.
Yeah. ISB Slicer. That's something we don't hear too much about. If the Slicer was a bit cheaper, that's a fun one. Spend a target lock to. Yes, but spend a target lock to jam.
Means you've got to have the target lock.
Yes.
If we can have a crew slot on E-Wings, that would be amazing.
That'd be interesting.
Because E-Wings take the range 3 target lock. You've got an R3, so you take 2 target locks at range whatever, and you go, I'm just going to jam all of your ships.
So let's think of an idea about this, because I've been thinking about this, and I saw it on Ray, Rose Tico, and ISB Slicer, right? R3 FCS pattern is a competitive ship. Like, cool, yes, but also it's too expensive still. Right, where are we? We're looking at the Ark, because the Ark can take a... no, it's... is it Imperial only? I thought it was... No, what am I thinking of? I'm thinking of... Novice Technician. No...
Yes.
Is it freelance slicer? That was it, not the ISB slicer. I'm thinking of the freelance slicer.
Rogue Historian.
Yeah. Rogue Historian has just caught me on this, because what if we were talking about arcs a little bit earlier? So how's this for a list? Synchronized console, freelance slicer. Let's make 3 of those. Where's Jag? There he is.
Jam.
Let's put in Sinker. Sinker's really expensive. Damn.
There's a reason Sinker's really expensive.
Sinker is really expensive. He's super good. I like Wolf though. Let's put in Wolf. There we go. Right then. So everyone has a synchronized console. You have everyone with a freelance slicer. So you just ping those target locks around and just start jamming things when they try and shoot you. I mean, it's interesting.
The thing to remember with the Arc, the reason I don't like it on the Arc is because the Arcs tend to be low initiative.
Oh yeah,
what you want to do is you want to trigger that at high initiative.
Yeah, for sure, because you already want the target locks, right? But it's interesting. I think I don't think
if there was a chip with passive sensors, that's freelance.
Oh god, yeah, I don't think it's the best ship in the game, but it does really reduce your opponent's
finding the right home for it is probably because you really need it on initiative 4 or 5 at the lowest.
Yeah, you do.
And also, the amount of ships that can take a lock and a double action is very, very small.
Yep.
So I think if you've just got the lock, then you jam your opponent, but you're still rolling naked dice as well.
Yep.
And don't know if the trade-off makes it worth having.
And that's the problem. I'm gonna do a call out again here. I'm gonna because normally a lot of these are the pretty good decisions. Mark Hughes, you're a terrible person. Reducing the cost of a Sinar engineer so you can fit 4 silencers in one squad? Absolutely not. No. That is a double reposition ship with 3 agility and 6 health. You should not be able to fit that 4 in a squad. Yeah. I don't know what your thoughts on that are, Phil, but I think that is broken.
I do genuinely think that apart from Kylo, all the silencers are overpriced. If you look at what you can get, so you can take like a Nane Num with the same as an i4 naked silencer, and Nane is cheaper.
Yes.
And he's a point better. He's got an amazing ability. I genuinely think that the silencer is too expensive, but I don't know how too expensive.
So this is another thing that I think it was the Gold Squadron podcast were having a real good chat about this. Problems with generics like the Ghost and the Decimator, they would really, really benefit from having the little dots next to them so that you can only have a maximum of 3 or 2 in a list, but you make them cheaper. So you suddenly make them good enough to be used and efficient enough to be used, but you can't spam them, and I think that'd be really good.
I've seen a couple of very, very good double lists. And who takes a generic Decimator? We've got Icon and...
Well, yeah, but this is the problem, right? The generic Decimator is useless because you can't make it cheaper than 66 because you can fit 3 in a list. Or whatever it is. Yeah, it's 67 I think it is at the moment, because same thing with the generic Ghost. But if you make it cheaper, then everyone spams 3, and then that's terrifying because there's too much health to get through. But what if you could make it cheaper by putting the dots on it that only allow a maximum of 2 in a list?
Back and changing cards.
Say again?
You're changing cards, and I fundamentally think that that's something that FFG doesn't want to do.
But I would argue that with what you're doing is you're changing squad building options, you're not changing the card itself, because it's the squad building option to put 2 in a list.
And then when they release the reprints, they just go, here are the updated cards, and all of us who have ships from 1.0 go, oh, my cards don't say that. People get frustrated, but I think the squad builders could solve. But
again, this is the
3 ghosts in a list would be the most horrific thing.
I suppose we're back here to the argument with so I think this actually brings it back to hyperspace in a way, because if hyperspace is the competitive format, then you can allow extended to be normal, right? And just throw stuff at it, just have fun, play on your home table with your extended stuff that is like it was printed originally. It's broken as hell, and we don't really have any tournaments that are extended. Everything swaps to hyperspace, and if you want to get into competitive X-Wing, then suddenly you have to follow the set of rules that is there for competitive X-Wing to make it balanced and fair. And I think that'd be good.
I think hyperspace hasn't even been... I think they haven't really... we're at the tip of the iceberg for what hyperspace can do.
Yeah.
They could make a season that was purely generic, wanted to.
I think there's a lot of companies that have been playing with stuff like this. Obviously, if you have a look at Magic the Gathering and all the competitive arcs that they do in there. There's stuff to be fun with. Right, let's carry on looking down here. Let's see what we got. Ships cheaper. Jedi. So we're getting the point of we're having some responses for that for the stuff that we were talking about earlier. So yeah, we got tractor is too efficient. Oh, here we go. Tuk-tuks, the ASSA-tact. How many points do the ASSA-tacts need to be dropped by to see some on the table?
God, can't make it. You can't make it 40 points. 5 ASSA-tacts is dumb.
Mm-hmm.
Around how much is an ASSA-tact now? I don't even know.
Oh, let's check, shall we? Let's go and have a look at
how much is an ASSA-tact these days?
the
Before we start
monstrosity.
saying, bring it down to this many points.
The
Can't
monstrosity
have it less
that
than
is.
41 points with that.
Would it be a problem to have 5 in the list? Probably. It's 44 at the moment. Jesus.
I mean, dropping it down to 42 or 43, I don't have a problem with. I think 40 points, 5 of them would be horrific, or with reinforce.
Yeah, you just can't get away.
Think about 4 Y-wings.
Yeah.
Reinforce.
Yeah.
Think 4 arcs, but with reinforce.
And a 180 arc. Yeah.
Well, you don't want
Talking, addressing Daryl's question there is, you can absolutely have 5 T65s, but I don't know if anyone played against Timo Rabe with his 3 ASSA-tact monstrosity. Doesn't matter if they can't turn around if 2 of them can shoot you every turn. Yeah, or you just can't.
Full stop now as well, can't it? The ASSA-tact can full stop now.
Yeah, it's got a stop and its dial. It's got pretty good greens as well. 1 banks and 1, 2, 3 forwards.
Yeah, for the style of ship it is. You know, here is my wall of reinforced flesh. The thing with the ASSA-tact is that you've only really got the reinforce. You don't have. Where's your action economy from? Like, looking at how Andrew Patterson used to fire them in 1.0 was really interesting. You'd go, you're shooting, the one that's taking damage, he's just going to reinforce. The other ones are going to focus. And he was super good with
Andrew touched me. I was flying Advanced Sensor Kylo, and Andrew touched me in bad places at one of the last 1.0 tournaments.
It was just... So I yes, you can have 5 X-wings, but X-wings, yes, they've got the 2 agility and 6 health. ASSA-tact has 8 health, got reinforced, so it's permanently getting 1 evade guaranteed. So it's getting 1 evade guaranteed. You've got a 3 in 8 chance of getting 2 evades guaranteed.
I mean, it is a 3 dice gun, but throwing naked 3 dice guns with the reinforce,
it misses not having expertise.
It does. I mean, I don't miss not having expertise.
It's expertise. Can you imagine expertise Boba in 2.0?
Don't just lists of things that would be too expensive to play. Yeah.
For
anyway.
Fearless. Thank you, Fearless. You can disappear now. I've got expertise on Boba.
Yep. I think something that they do need to errata is they need to allow Fearless to be used on Dengar and the not 2400, the 666. I feel like Fearless should work in the front arcs of those ships, but it doesn't, and that makes me sad.
It's like A-wings, but on an A2.
So someone
it physically doesn't work on an A2.
Yeah, exactly. So someone's addressing your interesting idea there about hyperspace, because you were mentioning hyperspace season with just generics, and someone else, Rogue Historian here, is mentioning hyperspace season with no generics. What do you think of that?
I think that's the joy of the format, is that they can just go, here's your 6-month window. Joy of it is you've still got extended to play if you don't want to play hyperspace. You know it's only for a limited time, and they can say this hyperspace season, the subtitle of it is Rise of the Generics. This hyperspace season is pilots, and I think that they can play around with that. This hyperspace season, everything has to have an ion cannon. I don't know. they can do that. They've
Yeah.
got the freedom in the game design and the design space to do that.
Yeah, I
Which
like it.
I think I want them to go further down that route. I want Mr. Watkins and co. to look and go, because when they first talked about it, the phrase that they used was, "We want to make it a genuinely challenging list building experience for players."
Hmm.
The
Yeah.
problem is, I think the X-Wing players are very good at solving a meta.
Yes.
See, the most efficient version of 5A is this one. The most efficient version of this is this. You've got freedom within that to flex a little bit.
See,
End up being
I'd like to see. I know this is an unpopular opinion, so feel free. I might get shouted at a little bit for this, but I would like to see, instead of a 6-month points change, I would like to see a 3-month points change. I think
there's enough time calendar for that.
Yeah, I know, and this is the this
In
is
terms
where
of playtesting, like the logistics of it's a nightmare. Like the playtesting cycle and things like that just wouldn't, like, they don't have time.
no, like, so I get that, and this is where we come against the problem. Like this, a lot of the stuff in this is voluntary, right? It's not a multi-million pound industry. It's just a little board game. But it would still be, it'd be nice to see it, just because if you've only got a 3-month stage, it doesn't matter as much if it's a little bit broken for 3 months.
Like things to bear in mind if you're looking at comparisons. EA has made more money
Mm-hmm.
off Rogue Squadron options, or
Mhm.
Red. This has been announced a week and a half.
Yeah.
Has made more money off Squadrons. FFG making a year
Yes. Agreed.
slog,
Agreed.
and that kind of puts things into perspective.
And it's yeah. Also, in addressing Dankmaster there, I know droids. We're gonna get to the droids. I'm dangling them till the end because it's gonna be a massive discussion. Everyone's gonna get grumpy, and we'll do droids in a sec. But there's fun stuff to do first. On the subject of fun stuff, because we've got some stuff like the suggestion of maybe 4 months. Season of pilots with names that contain exactly 9 letters. Sure.
Interesting.
Reducing. Oh, that's
No.
reducing squads to 150. Yeah.
Doesn't contain the letter E.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, there's a lot of random ones. I mean, yeah, entirely pre-orders. EA has sold so much money for Squadrons, and I imagine VR headsets are almost impossible to find now as well. But that's another matter. So, but
Pre-orders for Squadrons is insane.
I feel like we'll have a little bit on Squadrons as well, and soon I am also going to draw a ship on Paint because I've been called out to draw a ship on Paint. So I'm going to see if I can draw a ship on Paint. Anyway, going back to I agree with that, Daryl. All generics are unique. That'd be fun. Going back to the Resistance, because you've been having fun with Resistance recently, and because we've said, like, okay, optics needs to go up and therefore 5A wings is going to be less popular. A lot of people therefore say that, oh, but that makes Resistance useless, but I actually think that the 5A wings have been hamstringing Resistance recently because people haven't bothered looking for a better list in Resistance, and I think there's a lot of fun options in Resistance that are starting to show through now, and I want to pass it over to you because you've been playing so much of this recently in Covenel.
Hova, I think, like I said in the post I put up on Saturday, I think Hova is the best support ship in the game. 56 points with Leia, an R4, and Heroic. Heroic luxury, but it's there. The ability to make a white move blue or a red move white return, and the ability to jam mean that Kova as a ship is an incredibly versatile tool. You can use it to make Rey more punchy because you can coordinate Rey. We've seen the shenanigans with the passing tractor beams to Rey, tracked Millennium Falcon with a stealth device. Okay, let's do this. You shoot me, I clear my tractor, I hammer you. You know, there's some cool stuff in there, and I think when the transport came out, there's so many crew cards in there that people haven't really looked at.
Some of them are good.
Until Jank Tank, when people went, I've got to use this. What the hell does it do?
Yeah.
Oh, that's really good. Auto is really useful. Obviously, the Hubble coming in as an incredibly cheap, very, very maneuverable ship.
Yeah.
Strengthen the fact as well. I think there's an awful lot you can do.
So the chat's getting stuck on in this one as well. We got Kari, Kuhn, and Snap. Probably should be less than 50. I can get behind that. I think now that they've finally decided that Composure of Snap doesn't work, I think he can come down in points.
I think that killed Snap as far as I'm.
Yeah, he's okay, but he's never going to be a really good ship again. I mean, advanced optics need to go up, or does the RZ2? Other ships don't take it as much. I want to take this one. I disagree with you completely. Phil was talking about this earlier. Any ship that can take advanced optics normally takes advanced optics. The tech slot is just the advanced optics slot as far as I'm concerned. And realistically, I know I was saying earlier that it wouldn't benefit the E-Wing as much. I think that's just because it makes it a bit too expensive. Advanced optics statistically is incredible on a 2-dice gun. So you see the two main ships that can take it are the RZ2 and the TIE SF. You never see those with a 2-dice gun without advanced optics. So yeah, optics is the problem. Anyway, sorry, soapbox.
Yeah, I think optics compared to pattern analyzer, I think if they're both 5 points, that's okay.
Yeah, I agree with that.
While we're talking about resistance, Assorted Needles has gone triple Star Fortress.
Thank you, Farn. I know that you were excited about this one, Phil.
Please, God, no.
I'm slightly disappointed. I'm allowed to talk about this now, aren't I? Because you played Resistance in your last Vagabond game, didn't you? What was going to happen? What was going to happen to your opponent if they had droids left in the final Vagabond game and you have Resistance?
I jumped to Resistance because having lots of fun with the AAA and Cova. If you've not tried it, like, read my blog, look at the list.
I'm stealing it. It looks so much fun.
Such a fun list to fly.
Yeah.
But had I run into, and that's why I used it. But my original plan was to do First Order this week in the Vaga, and do Resistance next week, and pray that my opponent had. I was just going to take 3 trajectory simulator proton bomb Star Fortresses and just go, I'm just going to fly at you. Just going to die.
For those people that think Phil GC isn't a filthy power gamer, he totally is. He just uses nonsense that none of us use. Oh my god, it's amazing.
But for me, like, I feel that's the moral high ground, right? Because if somebody's using droids, they deserve it.
Yeah, true. They deserve to get three trash sims to the face.
Are you sitting on that rock? Okay, let me just take that rock away from you, and then hit you with 3 3-dice guns. I was totally prepared to do that, but I was just so excited by the AAA and Cova.
I'm gonna have to.
I had to do it.
I'm gonna have to try that. I mean,
you would like it.
The Proton Rocket ZZ is something I didn't even consider. I really like that. So yeah, I think Proton Rocket ZZ. I'm going down the 4 A-wing route here. You're gonna have to stop me. I'm gonna get rid of Cova. But
you want the target lock focus for ZZ's rocket.
It's great, but also you can have 4 A-wings.
You can drop like that, and you can put Greer in there as well.
Yeah, and I'm going to have Tally, ZZ, Lulo, and something.
Take Ronith, because Ronith can spend extra tokens.
Yeah.
But if you take Ronith, you get 3 lots of prockets in.
Yeah.
Don't put the procket on Lulo. You put the procket on the other 2.
Yeah.
So Ronith has a procket.
You put Tally and ZZ have prockets. Lulo has crack shot and stuff. And then Ronith is just there to be annoying, and I know it's not as good as.
Ronith takes prockets. Can we jump into a moment of tactical conversation?
Come on then, let's build it.
So this is why you put a procket on Ronith. This is an IE2. So you've got a blocker who's going to sit there, take a focus, and go, here's my bullseye arc. You do not want to land in this. So you are forcing ships to either land in your bullseye arc, get blocked, or burn an action repositioning.
Yep.
And Prockets on Ronith is actually particularly considering that Ronith doesn't even have to spend his own focus to fly them.
It's pretty good.
He can go, oh, I haven't used I haven't used tally focus. I did. So from a tactical point of view, Prockets on Ronith is actually legitimate.
It's pretty good. And also, where are we? That needs to be Ronith.
I think Prockets may be overpriced.
Maybe.
It's a one dice.
I've run out of points to spend, Phil.
It's a bullseye trigger. Rockets are a bullseye trigger, so you have to hit them carefully.
Yeah, I mean, I
think at 7 points, I can see them dropping just because.
Yeah, I can see them going down to 6 or 5. I mean,
they're not that useful.
They're not as good as Magpulse. I think if Magpulse is 6, Procket should be cheaper.
The bonus of they can be just a focus, which is the action you want to take on an A-wing anyway because of Prockets.
For sure. All right, let's get back to a couple of the things in the chat. Bombs are super cheap, yes. Generic red squads. I mean, I think 270 is good. Some are good, some are bad. Response from our Stan here. I guess to clarify, optics is taken on other stuff, but it's obviously much better on front back arc ships. Yes, especially with 2 dice. Aims with boost is great. Yeah, I mean double mods with optics. It's fantastic. Resistance with Han. Yeah, it's fun. I think the Resistance Falcon is still bad. It's just still expensive. I suppose. Okay.
We had that game where I took Cova and Ray.
Yeah.
If I hadn't misflown that opening engagement, Ray was going to tear chunks out of your list.
Yeah, I mean, I just dived. So for context, I was flying. What was it? It was three FO aces.
You had Von Reg, Kylo, and Hollow.
Yeah, and I lost a ship, but I killed Ray, and then it was game over. But if there was a couple of extra decisions, I wouldn't have got her at the time, and then I think you would have just flattened me with her.
Because I dropped Von Reg at range 3 because I'm going to shoot Von Reg here. He's going to take. Von Reg's not going to take anything, and then Ray just goes, "Here's perfect paint," and Von Reg went, "Here's all." Oh, and
it's what Ray does though.
Again, I think that's looking at Cova as a solution to an awful lot of questions that the Resistance faction has.
Yeah, Cova solves the Falcon problem for the Resistance. I feel like
you don't even need Cova. It's very good for Ray because you can make the sloops white
for sure.
Leia, but you don't need Cova to do that. You can do that on one of the cheaper models as well.
For sure. Oh, response to Dankmaster there. Is there a stream tomorrow? Nope. Fairly sure they're just dropping the PDF. But the question is there a stream tomorrow? Yes. Because I will be streaming just like I did last time, and I'm going to have a chat through the points. Who knows? Phil might be there. We can have.
We've got D&D tomorrow night, so unless we're starting at 11 o'clock.
It's probably going to be dropped American time, isn't it? So we don't know.
It's normally around sort of 6-7 o'clock our time.
Okay, that would work. We'll see. I mean, I might have a lot of work on, but we'll get to that in a bit. Something that I wanted to take from the Facebook just before I talk about droids, because yes, I'm going to talk about droids. Oh my god, I'm going to talk about droids. Is the B-wing. Now, I think I agree with, someone clip me. I'm agreeing with Elliot. I do actually like Elliot quite a lot, but sometimes I disagree with his opinions on the internet. No, it wasn't Elliot. Oh my god, I'm actually. Where's the other one? Where's it gone? I've lost it. It was Rob Wagman from Sweden, the trolliest of trolls. I love that man. He is such a trolly troll. He's so annoying, but he's so brilliant. Daryl, if I'm streaming tomorrow, it will probably be around 10 o'clock, I would guess. 10 o'clock UK time, so 11 for those of you in Europe. But yeah, Rob Wagman, B-Wings. B-Wings should cost the same as a T-65, and we should be allowed 5 B-Wings. I agree with him. I think 5 B-Wings should be legal. If 5 X-Wings are fine, then I think 5 B-Wings are fine.
I think 5B is perfectly fine. I'd rather play 5 against 5B than against 5X.
Yeah, I think it'd be good. I'd actually quite like to play a mixed squad of 2B2X, 2B3X, sorry, or something like that. Would it be possible to make the TIE Aggressor playable? I mean, okay, so the
without different turret options.
The TIE Aggressor is a boring ship, but it is vaguely playable. I mean, it's just not quite as good as the
TIE Aggressor. It needs a unique turret.
I mean, how do you feel about playing against 6 ion cannon turrets, Phil?
I don't want to play against 6 ion cannon turrets.
Because you can play against 6 ion cannon turrets. You can even, because it's so super ridiculously cheap, you can give like half of them hull upgrades as well.
I don't want to play against that, so can we just move on?
I know, I agree. Like, I don't think the Aggressor is actually overcosted anymore. I think it's a boring ship in a faction that isn't beefy, and no one bothered to buy 6 Aggressors, so no one's going to fly it.
I'm hoping the lessons were learnt when we had 5 Y-wings with ion cannons.
Yeah.
And but I think lessons have been learned. Like, there was nothing that gave me more pleasure in X-Wing at a hyperspace trial last year than watching a person with 5 Y-wings play another person with 5 Y-wings. It was a 1 forward, whether 2 or not.
Yeah. No, I think it's right. Where are we? Sorry, going back to that. Lessons have been learned. Yeah, sure. Take your salty butt off somewhere else, Chris. Good to see you, by the way. Hope the house move is going well. I'm jealous of Chris's painting station. I know that none of you have any form of context for that, but it's beautiful. Right. So should we address the droid problem?
Let's go on. Let's just make them all 40 points each. Droids, there you go. Done.
Yeah. I mean, let's.
And struts are 60 points. So 2 droids. That's going to cost you 200 points. Done.
Okay. I've got a few problems. I've got a few problems with droids, and most of them are not to do with struts. So I'm gonna address the droids, but I don't really want to talk about struts. Struts, I don't think, are the problem. I think the problem is the chassis, and the chassis is too cheap. But not only that, there's a lot of things in the droid faction that are too cheap. The chassis for the drones, but also Discord droids. The probe droids are ridiculously cheap, and therefore the cheaper chassis of the bomber, which is allowed torpedoes or missiles, is therefore also too cheap. So first of all, I disagree with the idea that you have this optional upgrade. I liked the way that they moved away from optional upgrades when they went into 2.0. Like the fact that the Defender just has the free evade. Cool, that's great. All of these ships have these things baked in. You don't have to give. You don't have to have the choice to give them. That is the ship. You buy the ship because it has that thing. So do that with the droids. Just bake it in. Apart from that, they've made the cars now. I agree with what you're saying about changing stuff. And they probably won't change it.
The reason it's not baked in, exactly the same as why the S-foils aren't baked in, because you have to flip it. It's a thing flipped. I'd like to change the mechanics on how the struts work, but we can't do that. That's too late for that. It should be an action to flip. Done.
Yeah.
You fly onto a rock, action, flip, land on rock. Done. Action is landing.
Yeah.
But they're not going to do that now. I agree. I think the chassis needs to go up. I think discords need to go up. The conversation that you and I had the other day when we were talking about how ridiculous pro droids were.
Yeah.
You think it's what, 5 points is it at the moment?
It's 5 points. So as I think you made a really good point on this in terms of if you were to give every single ship in your droid list passive sensors, at the moment that is 3 points each. So each ship pays 3 points for passive sensors. Yeah, it's 21 points. And suddenly you have passive sensors in your list for 5.
Basically, you've got passive sensors in everything in your list for 5 points.
And it's better than passive sensors because it's passive sensors that it allows double modifications.
Yeah, because you can just throw the thing forward and you go.
Yeah.
So that's for me.
Yeah.
If you're making and make the struts free.
Yeah,
then
I like Farn's suggestion there, as you're saying, make them 0 points. It's the same as baking them in. You don't not take them.
You jump the ship up to 23 points or something like that to accommodate. So the comparison that we always get, the conversation that we always have is versus Academy TIE, right?
Yeah.
Like, wise, actually pretty comparable. They're both fairly flexible. They're both fairly usable.
Yeah.
Green dice favour the TIE. Uh, on one, a TIE fighter beats a droid.
Yes.
2 on 2, probably 2 TIE fighters beat droids. The issue starts getting when you get up to 3, 4, 5. That's where, for me, start becoming a problem. Droids only come in 5s or more.
Yeah.
With the stuff.
Yeah.
And so that is what the issue is either you, like, if someone wants to take 2 droids and Darth Maul and Grievous, fine, that's okay. I don't mind that. It's the 5 droids and the 2 bombers, and ruthless efficiency you get from missions. Like, we were looking at lists the other day because of the team champs, right? Where you got 3 lots of plasma torps.
Those, so yeah, it's the bomber lists that are now developing. Ugh.
Plasma torps, 3 discords, still got enough points for a spare ship.
Yeah, it's not okay. But I'm curious. Basically, I think the droids and 6 for me is something that I have no idea where they're going to put them. There could be a lot of decisions made, and I think regardless of what happens, they almost don't have. It's so difficult to get it right, because some of the most difficult things.
I agree with Mr. Pond here on his point where you have 7 with no toys or 6 with toys.
Yeah.
The thing is that the droids still fundamentally only have 3 health. So many ships in the game have a very good chance of one-shotting them. You've only got 6, you've got a total of 18 health. If you've got 3 bombers and 3, 24 health.
Yeah.
And you think that you can have that's 3 wings worth of health. Doesn't seem to fit.
I would like to see them coming up to at least the same points as the TIE fighter. Right now, they're, if you assume struts are included, they are 2 points cheaper than the TIE fighter, which, as you're taking them in 8s, is ridiculous. I think the real comparison as well is the fact that you have if you compare the chassis of the basic bomber, which is 25 points, compared to the basic Torrent or the FO TIE fighter, which are also 25 points, I think you miss the fact that they have a roll into a target lock. But yeah, I think it's so incredibly hard to get it right with the droids. It's so hard to get it right, and it's the same with the 6. It's the same with the FOs. It's the same with the Torrents. As soon as you have a multiplication factor, it is difficult. And I think we're seeing the same thing with Heroic and the Dukes, and basically the things that you can take in mass. And I think that is the problem.
The ship isn't the problem. The spam is the problem. I mean, it's something that you and I again have talked about times in the past.
Yeah.
Is that list building should be about decision point. Just the game of X-Wing, it's about decision points. Your list building is part of playing the game of X-Wing, and it should be about decision points. Be a choice between, do I take A or do I take B? This is my fundamental problem with Boba. Now, I know this is me saying this, so the problem with Boba Fett is you can have all the toys and still have a 10-point bid.
Yeah. You should be forced to have the decision of going, okay, do I need these to win the game or do I need the bid to win the game?
And that's somebody who took a 22-point bid to Worlds. So the problem is that there isn't a tough decision to make. If you're building Boba Fett or Boba Guri, the list there is no consequences for me going, do I take this or do I not take this?
Yeah.
It's a luxury. I don't need it. I think the problem that droids have is at the moment, as a faction, can have all the toys all the time and all the answers. The biggest objection to the droid swarm, as opposed to the TIE swarm or even the 6 swarm, bases, it can deal with beef, it can deal with big ships, it can like archetypes. Like traditionally, aces fly around beef, right?
Yeah.
and this flies around that, and then this
But
blocks
beef
this, and then
beef
that
has
does
the
that.
efficiency to kill the swarm, right? Yeah.
Yeah, but droids just go everything. There isn't anything we can't do.
Yeah.
And I think that fundamental problem with it, like the 6 TIE swarm had to stay next to Hellrunner to make it work. It had restrictions to how it works, whereas the droids just go, yeah, we just do whatever we want, and people go, oh, but the dial's restricted.
No, it's got a hard to blue. It says something. There's an interesting chat just kicking off in the chat about that. We're going back to the scaling points again. Making if you're taking them in multiples, you make them more expensive. And I'm with Farn on this one. I really like the idea. I just want to address a couple other people there. So we're having Direweasel saying droids are designed to work in bulk. Their shipability is what they need. A lot of them share calculators. Absolutely, that's a good thing. That's an interesting design point. However, I think we have to take away the idea that we're raising points on something because we're punishing it for doing the thing that it's doing. We're not punishing it for doing the thing that it's doing. We're punishing it for being too good when it does that thing. So allow it to do it, but not to a level that shuts down everything else in the tournament. For Chris, I think we need some way, and I think this is where the app does come in, of balancing the points among the ships. So you go, okay, when you're building it, this one is 3 points more and 4 points more and 5 points more, but then at the end of it you go, okay, average out all the points, and this is every single ship is this many points. And if that means you have to bring in a half point into the scoring, then god damn it, bring in a half point into the scoring and just deal with it.
Points round up. We used to do that all the time.
Yeah, and just do that and just say, right, okay, like if you kill 2 of them, whatever, yeah, half points round up. But just, yeah, like when you're killing stuff, like this ship is 40.5 points. So if you kill the entire ship, congratulations, you get 41. Yeah, something like that.
You get 20. Yeah, I just think that, like the list we had, 3 plasma torps, which are taking their target lock from range 5.
Yeah, like no, don't
do
it.
3 discords sitting as a wall of screw you in front of them. You've still got points for another. Just like what? No. Oh, and by the way, we're all Dash. Ship in this list is Dash Rendar.
Yeah.
That's the problem with droids. Like, isn't anything that you can't build. It's not even like you have to tailor your list to answer the questions. A droid list that just goes, deal with this, I deal with this, I deal with this, I deal with this, and like, cool. I'm not worried about the matchup. I can make it work.
Yeah, agreed. And for like Stan saying there, yeah, we do know that Dash is not equal to Struts. Dash is obviously amazing. He's better than Struts. He cheats, but they are similar. Like, it's a similar mechanic. The droids ignore a grand deal of things to do with the game. They're allowed to have multiple actions. That breaks the game. They're allowed to have they're allowed to land on asteroids and have no consequences. That breaks the game. They're allowed to take target locks at long range. That breaks the game. And obviously, there are loads of ships in the game that do these things. But you need to be careful with
the counterplay to discords is incredibly limited because of discords. Discords should trigger at the end of the following activation phase. Haven't done roll or boost to get rid of it.
Yeah, or make them guess. Fire the discord in the system phase, or something like. But yeah, you're not allowed to.
Trajectory simulator.
Yeah.
I'm going to drop this in. At least that way, when I unpack my ships that are all initiative 3, I can choose which one is going over that damn thing first.
Yeah.
It activates is just ridiculous.
Shout out to Chris here. Genuinely think the only reason that we ended up rounding points up is because the app was wrong and it was easier to change the PDF. I think you just hit the nail on the head. That's hilarious. Just like, you know what, we've given up with the app. By the way, thank you guys for the follows. Should we call it there? Should we call it there?
Have we talked about everything? Who haven't we touched? Let's just run through. Have we talked?
All right, so we've got like if we have a look at Rebels, like let's just do like ship by ship. Like don't focus on pilots, just on ships. Arc 170, up or down?
Fine.
Say again. Fine as it is. Okay. B-wing, up or down?
Down.
Down. Okay. Attack shuttles, up or down?
I think they're okay.
I think
Attack shuttles are all right.
They're more or less fine. Tuk-tuks?
I think they can drop, but not too much.
Yeah, you don't want to make them too cheap, but I think tuk-tuks down. Y-wings?
Y-wings are fine. Let them have veteran turret gunner and ion cannons again, please.
Yeah, they're not allowed the toys, but I think they're good as they are. K-wings, that's an interesting one.
K-wings, I wouldn't mind seeing coming down. I mean, Nick Harris is about the only person in the world who cares. I mean, fan might care still. Like, care, but
yeah.
K-wings, not really a problem. Barrage rockets are the issue for with K-wings.
Yeah. And Sabine, fun. You're not allowed Sabine. That was mean. You touched me in bad places. Don't do it again. What was I going to say? Yeah, Phil. I'm not going to talk about a hypothetical title because we could do that all day. Right. E-wings. Yeah, I think we already had that discussion. E-wings can go down. Rebel Hawks.
Rebel Hawks. Like to see. I don't think Jan can come down, but I don't think the others. I think the others could drop down.
Yeah.
Jan is the only one being used at the moment. It's a shame because I think Kyle is an answer to a lot of problems Rebel faction might have because the action economy of Rebels is crap.
Yep. How about Moldy Crow versus actual pilot cost?
I think the Moldy Crow is pretty well costed right now. Let's just not go down. Let's just not go back to the days of Palob.
Yep.
Let's just not. That was bad.
There we go. Stream chat's just caught up. Farn has realised we're talking about him. Okay, Falcon.
Falcon, I would probably bring it down.
Yeah, I think so.
It's too easy to kill still.
Yeah, it's a good ship, but a little bit, like small amount of tweaking. RZA-1s, the amazing A-wing. Got to go down. Right?
I think A-wings should all be at most 20 points.
Yeah, the A-wings should be a little bit cheaper.
10 A-wings. You can have 10 A-wings on the list. That's fine.
Yeah.
I would like to see A-wings getting more pilots in the future. I feel that Jake is 4. I'd like Jake to be a 5.
I would like Jake to be a 5. Everyone knows that I like Jake too much, though. Right, Sheathapeds?
Sheathapeds, I think probably okay. And actually, having had the Ghost be released now in 2.0,
yeah,
be surprised to see the Sheathapede joining hyperspace.
I'm going to say something controversial. I think Fen Rao should be cheaper. I think he's got 1.0 itis where everyone was scared of him, and I think he's now a bit more reasonable with not being able to shut off all of the actions.
Which is 11.
Yep, agreed.
So Fen is less of a problem than he was. There are T65s. T65s now in the right place.
Agreed. Poor captured tie. I'm going to ignore that. It doesn't even deserve a mention. Obviously, that needs to go down.
Sabine is amazing.
Sabine is amazing. I think she's fine. The others are too expensive. U-wings.
Wings, we've been here with Leia, haven't we?
Yep.
I think you can make the U-wings cheaper because of Leia.
Yeah. But then, does that need to be a Leia problem, not a U-wing problem?
U-wing's really the only ship that can take her.
Yeah, true.
Yeah.
And allow more efficient stuff anyway. VCXs, I think we've touched upon that already. Really, I think the dots need to come in, and I think the named pilots are absolutely fine. The generic is a little bit too expensive, but needs dots to allow it to be cheaper than 67.
Is that it? Zeds. No, 24. 23rd. Bring it down a little bit.
Yep.
And then Z95s down. I think that they're like the ship in the faction and worth it.
Yeah, I think so. All right. Are we going to do this for every faction?
It will. It's 5 minutes per faction. Let's go.
Yeah,
Quick
let's do
fire,
it.
but,
All right.
but fast, less conversation. Less
Okay.
conversation.
Alpha. Star Wings.
Oh no, they can disappear. I do not want slamming ships that can fire torpedoes when they've got weapons disabled.
Yep.
Cheaper.
I think they're about the right point. Lambda, I think, is about the right point. We've kind of skipped the V1. It's a monster. Make it more expensive.
Simple, done.
Yep. X1s?
X1s, Vader can go up. The rest of them, I think, are okay.
Yeah, it's about fair. Defenders.
No.
Again, I think that's another one that should categorize dots. Make the generic a little bit cheaper, but not have more than 2 on the list. Squints.
Squints. I think Suntir is the only interceptor pilot that we need to worry about.
Yeah.
And I think he's about right. He might want to go up, but I think he's pretty low.
I actually really like the Alphas. I think the Alphas are the other interceptor pilot that is well costed. The others are a bit cheaper. Need to be a bit cheaper.
You've got the whole conversation of do you want 2 interceptors or 3 TIE fighters? And I want 3 TIE fighters.
See, I disagree. I love my interceptors. Anyway, Reapers.
The Reaper, yeah, jam. No, I played against Julian Hood too many times.
Oh yeah, we use the rebel slang. Like it's eyeballs and squints all day long.
Go up all day long. That's fine.
Yeah, Reapers. Vermeil should stay where he is. Maybe the middle ones like Visor and Feroth that no one even remembers what they do. Aggressors.
Again, it's a 1 pilot ship. Aggressors, who cares?
Yeah, who cares? Punishers.
Punishers. God, don't bring them down.
No.
Particularly now, Trajectory Simulator is down to 6 points instead of 10 points.
Yeah, I think we saw Redline at Worlds. Like they're in a reasonable place. It's just the meta at the moment is very lots of ship heavy. Tire lane, I feel sad for. I think the tire's been overshadowed by droids and needs to be a little bit cheaper.
And I think the problem with the tie swarm is it hinges on how runner.
Yeah, it does.
Right, the droids don't have that issue. The droids work anyway.
Yeah, the droids have mind link. Phantoms, oh my god, make it more expensive. I think
Drop a couple of points to put Phantoms up.
Just Whisper's been too good for too long. Get rid of a crew slot. Just do it. Just take away any way of getting a force point on that Phantom, and make people fly them well. I will probably stop flying it because it's not broken as sin, but I know a lot of people love the Phantom. Shout out to Arna. Bombers.
There's a couple of useful pilots in there, but I think the bomber's okay at the moment.
Yep.
Again, my issue with bombers is the same as K-wings, barrage rockets.
Yep, agreed. Duchess, kill it with fire. I mean, these things I think are slightly too cheap.
I think the preposition on them makes them super strong.
Yep.
I don't think that's factored into the points properly.
Decis?
These are fine.
Yeah. All right.
2 Deci, it's fine.
Yeah, I think so. All right. Scum faction is IGs.
Bring them down.
Yeah. Let us run through IGs. I think that's a good idea.
IGs are nowhere near what they used to be.
Yep. We've done the Y-wing. We've done the escape craft and the Falcon. Fangs we've said should stay the same. Fire sprays we talked about a lot. G1A.
G1A, I think is okay. Blom's ability can't be cheaper.
Agreed. And I don't think you can have 5. I think medium base and 5 is too much. 9 health. Yeah.
It's like 5 ASSA-tacts. I don't want to see that. See 5 Miss Hunters.
Yep, agreed. Hawk, same principle as Rebels. Shout out to Dace Bonearm, the most useless ship in the game. Yeah.
He did not make the transition well, did he?
No, he didn't. Jumpmaster?
Jumpmaster. Okay. I think the dial cripples it. I have an idea to fix the dial, but no one will ever do what I want them to do.
That's fair.
Which is have a droid with 2 charges, and charges reoccur, but you have to spend 2 charges to reduce the difficulty of a basic maneuver. So every 2 turns, you can do a turn to the right.
I like it. I like it. I think Numlum is too cheap. Dengar is now about right. The rest of them, don't know. Kirax.
Okay. Talonbane. Maybe drop a point or two. I think Talonbane has a place. He doesn't compete with everything else in the faction. Because why would you take a Fang? So why would you take him when you can old Tarok or Fen?
Yeah, I also think Graz is really good and underrated.
I think there's a lot of good abilities. It's similar to the X-wing. There's a lot of good abilities on it, but it's not as good a ship as.
Yeah, I think Lancers wise, I'm actually going to cede to Phil on here. The rest are pretty good. Asajj needs to be just that little bit cheaper.
Happy to drop. I think it's cheap. It could be cheaper.
Yeah, slightly. I think a little bit cheaper.
Clear, 9 health, medium base ship.
Seems good.
Big gun. I think the Kimiglia is a feature ship rather than a theme ship.
Yeah. I think the chemo's in a good place. M3A up. Oh my god. Mining Guild's probably in the right place. Maybe 23.
Seaboard's a pain. I think the Mining Guild tie's fine. Yes, it can ignore rock, but it can't shoot while it's on a rock.
Yeah,
which is the difference between them and a droid.
Yep. That's Mining Guild. Space Tug. Yeah, keep it where it is, for the love of God.
Don't let the changes to track team make it cheaper, please.
Oh God, no. Skirgs.
Bring cheaper. It's fine.
Yeah. Star Viper. I'm gonna skip that. No, actually. So serious point. Generic needs to be a little bit cheaper. Assassins. I don't. Without opening a can of Fortress Worms, I think actually they're fine.
In the list is perfectly acceptable.
Yeah, I like the Viper. I think with the Fang, the Viper is actually one of the well-costed ships. YV, a little bit cheaper, only a little bit.
Yeah, not to the point where you can fit 3.
Yeah.
No, you can already fit 3. Oh, yeah. Horrible. Don't make it so you can fit 4. As long as you can't have 4, it's okay.
Agreed. Right, and we've already talked about Zeds. Right, Resistance. Fireball, fairly new, still finding its feet. Probably keep it where it is.
Okay.
One store champ. Star Fortress, again, after the points changes, great little ship. Kill ZZ with fire.
ZZ's amazing. I love ZZ.
Yeah, I know. Make them more expensive.
I've learned to crush on ZZ. She's great.
Yeah. Transports are good. Not all of them.
Yeah, is either you take you take a generic or you take Hova.
Yeah, change the names a little bit. Falcon still needs to come down slightly.
Absolutely, the restrictions on that dial are still too heavy compared to the other Falcons, plus the less health.
Yep. Quick summary for Netta. We did talk about defenders. Basic summary: you need to put dots on them, so that you can't have more than 3 in the list, and then you can make the generic cheaper. The rest of them probably fine, maybe a little bit cheaper on the rest. T70s again, I think in a good place. A couple of the named ones need to go down slightly.
Like O and Snap a little bit cheaper.
Yep, and I would like to see Jess very slightly to like 1 point. We're talking. All right, FO. Again, Thai BA, new ship, pretty good. Don't see why they shouldn't be a little bit cheaper, but I actually quite like them as a ship. They're pretty fun.
I think the new mechanics of the Thai BA mean it's one of the more interesting ships to fly.
Yeah, it moves differently. It has new mechanics. I really like it. It's a fun challenge. FOs seem
doing stuff.
Yeah, FOs seem to be.
I think they're fine.
Yeah.
It's very, very, very good filler ship.
Yeah. SF?
Cheaper because of optics and passives and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah, but I think if you made the optics and passives a little bit more expensive,
Make it cheaper. If optics and passives go up a point, well, passives I think are all right on them at the moment, but if optics was to go up a point, then you can drop the chassis down.
Yeah, I think the SF at the exact points they are with the optics stuff should stay at that amount of points, so balance them based on the optics. Silencers, don't make them 50. First order test pilots, 3 of them is pretty fun. I like the silencer. I think the silencer is fairly well costed.
Except Kylo I'd bring down. I think the abilities of recoil out are tricks.
Yeah.
Sucker punches to fall into. I don't think the ability of the pilot is worth the points when you compare it to the i5 Elo and name in the T70.
I was flying Predator recoil a couple of days ago, and that was really good. But yeah, that's the only thing. And
before, and you've got to trigger it.
True. Upseas.
You can't bring them down because of the stupid stuff with Americans jousting people with them.
Yeah. I think just
no one in the UK ever had a problem beating that list.
Well, yeah, but we survived Jumpmaster meta. When the Americans were doing all of the PAL bases, we were dealing with torpedo to the face.
And snap crack A-wings.
Oh God, that was a beautiful time. 5 A-wings versus Jumpmasters, and people just didn't understand why they lost. Oh man, sorry, I got a little bit excited there. Kylo down by 1 or 2 points. Now, if anything, Kylo's
fine.
He's very good where he is.
Good optics at 80 points is magnificent.
Chris is sad because I flew too many A-wings. Right, let's get on to the last 2. These ones could be fun. So even though they don't have as many ships, right, arcs we already covered. Probably good. Actually, I just want to shout out back to the Rebel arc. Apart from Nora, I think some of the named ones can go down a little bit. Nora is fine.
Again, a Y-wing for me, wings are better than arcs.
Yeah, they are. So I think arc is fine in Republic. Y-wings, same thing.
I think they're okay, but I would bring Anakin down.
Yeah, Anakin is.
The Y-wing is too expensive.
God, shout out to Oddball again for bad abilities. But
if you barrel roll at your low initiative and you land a ball,
he's initiative. Really? He's initiative 5. Yeah.
I mean, everything's moved before him, so he doesn't know where it is.
I know.
Anyway, who's next?
Okay, now I think we should split Delta 7s into two sections, CLT and 7B. What do you reckon on Jedi?
Well, no, because the basic chassis is the ether sprite, and then you've got the option of the thing. I think the CLT is really well costed. I think 7B is possibly too expensive. I think Obi-Wan is too cheap.
Yes.
Because of his raw efficiency for lifts, Obi-Wan is possibly cheap. I like most of where the ether sprites are at. I think that they are a generally well costed ship.
Mm-hmm.
The amount of times I've seen them just go pop because 3 blanks appear and they just die to anything.
Yeah.
I have less of an issue with
generic down seems fair, just a little bit, not by much.
You can have 5 with CLT and a 5-point bid, which is a copy of Sense.
Yeah, that's fair.
We've seen that. It's a good list.
It is. Also, Marcel Manzano, come fight me. Obi does need to go up. Right. N1s. I think, again, this is one that we need to look at pilot by pilot as opposed to the ship itself.
I think in order to make Padme work, you have to make her and the cheaper.
Yeah.
I think there is a good case for Rick going up a little.
Yeah, slightly. I think Anakin should go up slightly. He's super good.
Like positioning stuff, right?
Yeah.
It's something that I haven't been flying the last few weeks, and I'm learning how to play X-wing without moving before I move.
Yeah.
It works. I think think Rick can possibly go up. Again, that's an interesting one because passive sensors, I think, is an interesting one for them. And
Yeah. I mean, also absolutely, Ryan. Like you're entirely correct. Marcel is wrong. He just loves Obi too much to see it. Also, I'm basically in nerf Manzano mode because Anakin needs to go up. Sorry, Phil, I cut you off a little bit there.
I think depending, I can see passives becoming scaled. Realistically, I think that's sensible. How that impacts the low initiative torp carriers like the Naboo is going to be interesting.
Yeah, for sure. Because I mean, if you're
played against Chivers with that list, it was horrible.
That's I mean, that's under 50 points. If we're looking at sort of the Four Horsemen style with 4 pretty hitty ships, then that's
the free evade. You get your free evade, you flip passives. Cool. I've got a torpedo. Knock yourself out.
Yep. Right. So, and finally, the Humble Torrent.
I think 25 points is fine. Is both. If looking at droids actually jumping up, then I think the torrent is actually okay.
Yeah.
If droids don't up, then I think the torrent comes down.
Yeah, and I'm very much on the point of not making stuff too cheap. Making stuff more expensive is better. I think the named pilots here are the real sad ones. I like Tucker, but the rest of them are terrible. Caught myself before I swore. Good job. All right, the monster.
And Lee, who are we starting with?
Let's start with the elephant. They got to go up.
Several elephants.
Several elephants. Okay, let's start with let's go from the down upwards. So
vultures then.
Yeah.
Vultures up.
Vultures up.
I think you make struts free and vultures up 2 or 3 points, or you make struts cost the same, vultures up 1 or 2 points depending.
Yep. Okay, infiltrators.
Infiltrators. Anyone worked out how to win anything with them yet?
Yes. Shout out to XY. It was the double tap tractor beam, plus the 6 or 7 droids. But that again,
okay.
That's a bit of a gimmick.
Yeah, so I think the name. Okay, and you can play around an infiltrator very easily.
Yeah.
It's got a great dial, and I won a game with 3 of them.
Yeah.
And that was super fun.
I think they're okay.
But I don't think they're okay. It's an inherently good ship. I think large base, 10 health, 1 agility, dive.
Yeah, bring it down a little bit. The ensnare is the problem ship.
As long as ensnare and the chassis are never in hyperspace at the same time, it's fine.
Yeah.
Have one or the other, but you can't have both.
And I think if you're making ensnare legal, then ensnare needs to go up a lot. Okay. Oh, what do we do with you? What do we do with the bomber?
I think the bomber isn't the bomber. It's the upgrades the bomber can take.
Yep. The problem with the bomber is this, which needs to be like 9 points or more.
Sensors for your whole, well, not passive. Yeah, passives for your whole list.
Yep.
Needs to be more than 5 points.
Or it needs to be easier to kill them.
Because they're 3 agility, right? So
yeah.
I think they can jump up. If they were 9 points, I think they'd still be worth taking.
Yeah.
That's the point about list building should be about choices.
Yeah.
Choice. Does it have a munition or does it have this? At the moment, you can have a munition and.
I agree. I've got a couple of feelings about these guys. I think that most of them are fairly well priced. However, the title needs to go up. I think 6 points for 2 hull upgrades and rerolls.
That's ridiculous.
It is nonsense. It is utter nonsense. Titles should probably go to 10. But yeah.
What is a hull upgrade? Hull upgrade on a 2 agility.
Hull upgrade is 5 points.
So I think 8 to 10 points makes that okay.
Yep.
And then the other issue for them is the systems. So Kraken and Co I think they need to be more expensive.
Yeah.
Anything that delivers action economy to 3 ships, and however many points it isn't at the moment.
Yep. I quite like this guy. I think this guy is underrated. I think you can slowly increase, as Casper's saying there. I think you can slowly increase it and see what happens, but it definitely shouldn't be 6. Right. There we go. I think that's it. So the final thing that we're gonna do is I'm gonna do some utter nonsense here, because someone told me to go and draw a ship. So let's draw a ship, shall we? How thick is it? Yeah, that'll do. All right. So the general idea that I had for a ship was think a little bit.
On screen.
Say
Put it
again?
on screen.
Oh,
Screen.
yeah, it's on screen.
Can't see it yet. Maybe because I'm ahead of it.
Maybe like it's I've got a white background. It's paint. So the general idea I have for a ship was that we don't really have one that is like a reverse striker. I'm thinking like, you know, think of the stealth bomber. Let's go for the stealth bomber. This thing. Yeah. We don't really have anything like that, but we need to make it more Star Warsy. So if we're going to make it more Star Warsy, I feel like it needs a central chassis. So central chassis, a little bit like the Reaper. So you've got like you basically got a bit like a speeding bullet, something like that. You've got your cockpit up there. Then at which point you have your sort of your swept back wings, which is something like, no, bad angle, something like that. There we go. And these would move a bit like the strikers. Obviously, I'm amazing at drawing. I'm doing this with a mouse, so don't judge me. I mean, you're going to judge me. It's fine. Oh God, that's too large. Let's go back to normal brush size. There we go. So yeah, something a bit like that. And I don't know, maybe you could have it a bit like the Interceptor. So if you're having a look at like a forward, it's a bit like a reverse X-wing. So if you're having a look at a forward view of it, then you've got like your general chassis a bit like that comes in there, and then you've got your wings, but swept back wings, as opposed to forward wings like an X-wing. Yeah, I don't know, something like that. But I think that's it for the stream. Thank you, Phil, for coming on and chatting nonsense with me.
Mate, anytime, you know that.
Yeah, and we'll see what happens if points do drop tomorrow. I wouldn't mind going through them and talking with them. So if I have the time over the next week, there should be a point stream as well. So thank you all, wonderful people, for coming and saying hi for the stream, and we will catch you all later. All right, bye.